In these perilous times, see from current events how biblical prophecy is coming to pass in front of our eyes. You're watching In the Last Days, the program that looks at Israel and the end times with teaching from a Hebraic perspective. With Martin and Natalie Blackham, thank you to our friends and partners who make this program possible. Now, here's Martin and Natalie.
Hi, welcome to the In the Last Days television program with myself, Martin Blackham. Natalie is behind the scenes. She says hello to you today. Great to be with you. We welcome you wherever you're watching today, across the UK into Europe. And it's great to have David Ha'avri. Welcome to Haradah. Welcome to the studio. Great to have you in today. David is the director of the Shomron Liaison Office, the executive director and spokesman. So we're going to learn a lot today about the area of Samaria and Judea. So just to start us off, David, you originally come from the United States, but you came here when you were small. You're not like some of the older people making Aliyah. You were quite small and your family moved across to live in Israel. Is that right?
Well, that is right. First of all, thank you for inviting me on, and I'm glad to be here and speak with your viewers. My name is David Ha'ivri, and I've been here in Israel for most of my life. My family made Aliyah. We moved to Israel. We ascended to the Holy Land when I was a child. I was 11 years old. So I've been in Israel for over 30 years. Now,
you're the executive director of the Shomron Liaison Office. We were just talking before the program that some of our viewers, or possibly many viewers, may not understand some of the terminology, so we'll just explain that at the beginning. First of all, the area, I've got a book, but I'm not pushing this book, but this is a book called Judea and Samaria, the Biblical Heartland of Israel. Now, a lot of people will not understand the terminology, but Judea and Samaria is Israel, and the West, but some people call it the West Bank. But it's Israel. And I think it's important for the viewers to understand that when the media talks about the West Bank, it's a political expression, and it covers much of Judea and Samaria. Is that right?
That is right. The terminology that's popularly used by the popular media and the politicians, the West Bank, we hear it so often in that media that people would think that the West Bank has some historical importance, where actually the West Bank only came about as a result of the invasion of the Jordanian army of this territory after the British left in 1948. So the West Bank is a political term for an area that geographically is called Judea and Samaria. And Judea and Samaria is the heartland of Israel. All of the biblical events occurred in Judea and Samaria. When we read in the Bible about Abraham, our father, who came to the land of Israel, Abraham followed the calling of God. Hashem speaks with Abraham and he says to him, "Go out from your father's home to a land that I will show you." And the next verse brings us to Shechem, Elon Moreh. Shechem, the Arabs called the city of Shechem Nablus.
In the north of Israel.
In the north of Israel, in the north of the Samaria, the area that I represent. And that's where the connection of the Jewish people and the nation of Israel began their connection to the land of Israel there in Shechem, which is in the center of the Samaria, which is in the center of the area that's called the West Bank.
So for the viewers, it's important that you understand that this is all the land of the Bible that is supposedly called the West Bank. And you know, I was talking with someone the other day, David, and we were saying that this expression Palestinian, there's never been a country called Palestine. There's never been a capital. I mean, where is the? You know, these people who talk about Palestine. Where is the capital? And some people say, well, maybe it's Ramallah, but there's never been a state here in Israel called Palestine, and yet the politics of this area and the media just keep saying this lie again and again and again. And I guess it must be in your job you're always having to come against this all the time and have to start from scratch about this area, that this is the land of Israel. The Jewish people have lived here thousands of years, and yet because of what happened as you say, with the Jordanians, they invaded, and then now we have this problem with the West Bank. And the other issue, and I want to get onto this very quickly, is the situation with the communities, or the politicians call them settlements, the Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, and the outposts. If you can give us an update, because again, people watching will say, what is an outpost? What is a community, a settlement? And maybe you can talk a bit about what's the reality of these areas, and to explain to the folks at home who may not understand. And the media tries to give this image, which may not be true at all.
A preconceived image is very, very true regarding Judea and Samaria. The communities that I represent in the Samaria, Jewish communities spread out in the heartland of Israel, are called in the popular media settlements, which it portrays a certain image. And the truth is that our communities, the Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, are towns and villages and cities, just like cities anywhere else and just like communities anywhere else. But the media that does have an agenda, which is not positive towards Israel, try to portray our communities as something wrong or something in the way, as if the Jewish communities in the heartland of Israel in some way are the barrier to peace. And if these people are me. If my family would not live there, then maybe we could have peace in the Middle East and in the world. But it's very important to understand the same issues that we started discussing, that first of all, this is the heartland of Israel. The mountains of the Samaria are in the center. It's the most centrally located area of Israel. The entire width of the state of Israel, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, is only 70 kilometers. 70 kilometers span from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. Of that, 55 kilometers is the Samaria. So the central area, the Tel Aviv area, is only 15 kilometers wide from the Mediterranean to the Green Line, the ceasefire line where Jordan and Israel stopped fighting in 1948, the so-called pre-1967 armament lines. There's only 15 kilometers there. I think that people who are interested in Israel, and ironically, many people are interested in Israel around the world. If you had a scale of the issues on the international debate regarding geopolitics, Israel is always up on the top, and Judea and Samaria is on the top of that. Everyone has something to say regarding the West Bank. Should Jews be allowed to be there? Should we establish a Palestinian state? If we establish a Palestinian state, will that bring peace, and so forth? Unfortunately, people are not aware of the details. This simple fact that there's only 70 kilometers between the Mediterranean and the Jordan River, I'm sure that people who live in Great Britain, who can travel for hours and hours to reach the sea or the other sea and so forth, in Israel you can travel for an hour plus and from one border to the other. And when you stand on the mountains of Israel, and the Samaria is the mountains of Israel, where geographically the high ground, the hills of the Samaria reach the elevation of 800, 850, 900 meters above sea level. So naturally, when you stand on the mountains of the Samaria, which is also the West Bank, and you look down to the west, you can see the buildings of Tel Aviv. It's all there before you. The entire width of the Tel Aviv region up until the Samaria is only 15 kilometers, and the majority of Israel's population live in the greater Tel Aviv area. So you can stand on the mountains of the Samaria, you can look down and see the entire central population area of Tel Aviv, from Gedera in the south to Chedera in the north. 80% of Israelis live there. And so on the one hand, you've got the biblical significance, our history, our Bible, our Jewish religion and connection to the land. But in addition to that, you've got the strategic importance, the security of the state of Israel. Because if this area was under the hands of people who are hostile to Israel, like the PLO or like Hamas, who have been shooting rockets into Israel, if they had control of this area, they could easily be threatening all of the central population area of Israel with rockets.
And yet the government, I mean, having said that, some people, I mean, like we spoke with Uzi Dayan, and he was saying about having strategic borders and having, I'm trying to remember how he put it, but having borders which are guardable, having land which is strategic. But a lot of people who are watching, you know, and the media keeps planting this idea about the West Bank, but it's Israel. It's biblical Israel. And the funny thing is, you know, for a lot of you watching, these cities are, you know, we open the Bible and there they are. There's Hebron, there's Jerusalem, where we're just close to. There's Shemin, and you know, these are the places we find in the Bible, and yet there's so much of a battle for this part of the land, you know. I mean, and like you're saying, if they gave this up, Tel Aviv would be under threat. But what I wonder about, David, is that when Jewish people started coming back to the land of Israel, they were called settlers. I mean, obviously they came back and they settled in Tel Aviv, but they didn't think of that as a bad thing. And it seems very odd to me, why is it now, and people who went to the States from Europe were called settlers, and why have it's so been politicized, this word? It's terrible, really. And you know, we apologize. You know, our viewers will say this. You know, we're very sorry that it's been put like this, because it's not true. You know, your communities, beautiful communities, schools. I mean, Ariel, you've got the university there. People are studying, the yeshivas. I mean, it's a place of life, and it's very sad that the news media is brainwashing viewers into the people who watch these reports into this wrong way of thinking. And it's great to have you here today to counteract that. Now, I just wanted to talk about one thing. It's a little bit sad, but I think it's important for our viewers to know about it. Was about the Fogel family. We've spoken before on in the last day's television program about this terrible tragedy that happened. And maybe you can give us a little bit of the background and talk a little, you know, our viewers would be interested in what happened. I mean, one of the dangers is that you have is that you've constantly faced this terrorism. And unfortunately, the media will focus on some events and not on others and think that everything's okay. But you've got this threat, haven't you? You know, that of terrorism in where you live. And maybe you can tell us a bit about the Fogel family.
This week we'll be marking a 1-year anniversary of the horrific massacre of the Fogel family that occurred in the community of Itamar.
Is that near where you are, Itamar?
Itamar is just north of the community that I live in. I live in Kfar Tapuach. Itamar is about 10 minutes away, and it is part of our greater community, part of the community that I represent, the Shomron Regional Council, which incorporates over 30 Jewish communities throughout the Shomron region. In our area, through the Oslo Accords, Israel facilitated the Palestinian Authority, gave the PLO authority over areas, and there are areas that the PLO have full control. Within those areas, there are Palestinian terrorist organizations that mobilize and operate from. One of those communities, one of the Arab communities bordering with the Jewish community, terrorists came from that village, from Awarta, and hiked into Itamar on a Friday night just a year ago, and infiltrated the community of Itamar and entered the Fogel's family. It was at midnight. They entered the Fogel family's home and slaughtered the better part of the Fogel family. They killed the mother and the father and 3 little children, and 2 children survived. It's very, very difficult to tell about such an event, and the murder of these beautiful people. Rabbi Udi Fogel was a teacher, a rabbi in the yeshiva of Itamar, and they
Did
were
you
all.
know him?
No, I was not personally acquainted with Rabbi Fogel, but he was an important figure within the community and within the yeshiva there. The Fogel family had actually relocated from Gaza. They had lived in Gush Katif, and they had been forced out of Gaza in 2005 through the disengagement, when Israel pulled out of that area and removed all of the Jewish residents and caused 10,000 people to become homeless, to become displaced. And the Fogel family reestablished themselves. They built a new home in the community of Itamar. That was their first home after their home had been destroyed. And they, different from others who claim to be refugees for 60 and 70 years, second generation and third generation, the Fogel family, who were in effect refugees, they were forced out of their homes, but they reestablished themselves very quickly and became productive members of the community, teachers and leaders within the community. And that family was destroyed by an act of Islamic terrorism. The village of Awarta, which is just south of Itamar, is very, very interesting. In that village, in that Arab village, there are historical biblical burial places of very important figures in the Bible. Elazar and Itamar, the sons of Aaron, the priest, the nephews of Moses, Elazar and Itamar, are buried there in Awarta. And the community Itamar is named for Itamar, the son of Aaron, the priest, from the Bible. So the people of Itamar, the people of that community, took their inspiration from the biblical Itamar, who's buried just nearby. That's their inspiration. And when we interact with people who live in that community and in the greater Jewish community of the area, we can hear from everyone this inspiration, the inspiration from Joseph, Yosef HaTzadik, Joseph the righteous one, the son of Jacob, who was saved the Jewish people, saved the world through his.
Because Joseph was the one that went down to Egypt. The viewers will be very familiar with the story from the Bible where his brothers sold him as a slave, and he went down to Egypt. And because of the terrible thing he went through, he managed to save. When there was a famine, he saved his brothers from a terrible fate, that there would have been no supplies or provisions. And it's an amazing story, and he was brought back, wasn't he? His bones were brought back. And maybe you can talk a bit about Joseph's tomb, because some people watching today will be very interested about Joseph's tomb, because Joseph's tomb exists. It isn't a fantasy. There is a place, isn't there? But it isn't so easy to get there, is it?
Why don't we get back?
Oh, sorry,
and discuss
the family.
Why don't we get back and focus on Joseph?
Okay.
But let's first speak about the Fogel family in the community of Itamar. And I mentioned Joseph, who was buried in Shechem, Nablus, which is just under Itamar. So you have Awarta to the south. You can see the community of Awarta and the biblical tombs there. And then you can look to the west, and you can see the city of Shechem between the two holy mountains, Har Grizim and Har Ival, Mount Ival and Mount Grizim, the Mount of Blessing. And Joseph's tomb is there, and the people in Itamar are in the center of all of this, and just south of Har Kabir, where Abraham reached the land of Israel. And this is the inspiration of the community. Unfortunately, in Awarta, they received their inspiration from George Habash, the arch-terrorist from the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. And youth from that community, like the ones who slaughtered the Fogel family, 2 teenage boys, on Friday night, hiked up the mountain in the dark, climbed over the fence, infiltrated this community and the family home of the Fogels, and slaughtered this family. And this is not the first family who was targeted by Islamic terrorism in our community. We're going to mark the year to the massacre of the Fogel family by holding a grand opening of a new yeshiva campus, a new building that we've completed building now for the yeshiva The yeshiva is a Bible college for young men who study Torah, the Jewish laws. And this yeshiva, which is very successful yeshiva, has hundreds of students who come from around Israel. It's a post-high school. And I'll talk a little bit more about the yeshiva as well. But regarding the memorial event, we're having a grand opening for this yeshiva building. And we worked very hard to complete the building on time. We actually had all of the building, all of the workmen, all of the different teams working in parallel. Normally in construction sites we have one team who works and does the main construction, and then another team comes in and does the floors, and another one comes in and does the electric work and the water so one finishes and the other comes in. But because it was so important for us to have it ready on time for the memorial, we had all of the teams working at the same time. Wow. Laying the floors and putting the windows in and finishing the exterior and interior. And for us, this is a sign of growth, of development, of living, and a response to those satanic terrorists who think that they can chase us out through their means of destruction. They destroyed one family. We've taken in the children, we plant trees, we educate the children, and we build. And this is our response. Our response is that the Jewish people have again set down root in our historical biblical homeland, and we will stay here forever.
And with the children, are they still in that area? Are they with families in that area? Or?
The children have been taken in by their grandparents who live in Jerusalem and are raising them. Any time a terrible tragedy like this happens, the community and the family need to mobilize and to determine what is the best situation for the children to raise them.
Now we were talking, if we can go back to Joseph's tomb. This fascinates me, and but you've got a bit of a problem getting access, isn't it? You can get access, I believe, but it's not so easy to. And there was a tragedy there, wasn't there, at Joseph's tomb not so long ago?
Joseph's tomb. I mentioned earlier the establishment of the Palestinian Authority, the PA, which was established through the Oslo Accords. At Oslo, the State of Israel sat down with the Palestinian Liberation Organization and allowed their terrorist leadership to come in from Tunis to Judea and Samaria and to take municipal and security responsibility in these areas. A treaty was signed, the Oslo Agreement. The Oslo Agreement was a terrible mistake on behalf of the leadership of Israel, who were misguided and did not foresee where this would bring Israel and where this would bring the Arab population. No one has gained any positive standing as a result of this. Now, this happened 18 years ago. In the Oslo Agreement, regarding the city of Shechem, Nablus, it was agreed that the PLO would receive full responsibility for the administration of the city of Shechem, Nablus, including all municipal responsibilities and all security responsibilities, meaning that Israel's army and police would pull out of the city of Shechem and allow the Arabs to administer all local issues. Regarding the tomb of Joseph, which is in the center of the city of Shechem, because it's an important biblical location for Jewish people, and we had a yeshiva that operated there for 25 years, the Od Yosef Chai Yeshiva. The Joseph Lives Yeshiva operated there at the tomb. There's a small building, and there was a hall, a study hall. By the way, that site for Jewish people is very significant, has a very spiritual significance. Joseph in Jewish culture is considered the righteous one. Joseph the righteous, Yosef HaTzadik. And it was customary when we had free access, and I'll get to the switchover where we no longer have free access, but when we did have free access, it was customary when we have the Brit Milah, the circumcision for the young babies on their 8th day, people who had the ability, the opportunity to hold that ceremony at Joseph's tomb was very important in our community. And myself, I have 8 children, 2 of whom are male boys. We had their Brit Milah, their circumcision ceremony there at Joseph's tomb. In the Oslo Accords, Israel signed over the responsibility for the city of Shechem, but both sides agreed that Jewish people would still have free access to reach Joseph's tomb every day, that our yeshiva would continue to operate. In 2000, the Arabs held riots that they called the opening of the Second Intifada. And in those riots, they took weapons that they were given in order to administer peace. They used those weapons to attack, to assault Joseph's tomb.
We're going to have to stop you there. Very sorry, David. We've run out of time this week. It's been great to have you with us. And if you want to hear more about this, we're going to talk a bit about this next week. And don't forget, you've been watching In the Last Days.
You've been watching In the Last Days, a TV program with Martin and Natalie Blackham, the program that looks at Israel and the end times with teaching from a Hebraic perspective. If you would like to financially support the program or find out about conferences, meetings or ministry products, then please contact us with the details on your screen. Visit our easy-to-use website at www.inthelastdays.com and register for our free e-newsletter. Get the latest news from Israel, product information, online video teaching, or watch today's TV program at a time that's convenient to you. Thank you again, friends and partners, for making this program possible.
See you in 2 weeks, same time, same station, for the next program from In the Last Days.